friends, Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and Alderon and I are here today to talk to you about a book that we're just absolutely thrilled to be discussing because we just recently read it, and I have to say it's probably going to make it on my top 5 favorite books of the year. Absolutely phenomenal. I was expecting great things from this book, and it absolutely delivered, and I'm so happy to be talking about it today. And that book is called The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. The God of the Woods. I've been talking about a lot of thrillers lately because I've been reading a lot of thrillers lately, and I will no doubt be talking about more thrillers in the near future. So I was glad to be able to mix it up a little bit today and talk about a book that carries a little bit more weight, both physically, because this is a very long book, and also emotionally as well. Now, when I said I had a lot of high hopes for this book, it's because Liz Moore, I read a previous book by her that was called Long Bright River. I think that came out back in like maybe 2019 or 2020, and I absolutely adored that book. If you haven't read anything by her yet, go back and read that other book because it's just simply phenomenal. The writing, so good, and I've kept this author in my mind ever since then. So when I knew she had another book coming out, I was super hyped to get it. Didn't even have to ask any questions about it. I knew it was going to be good. And it didn't let me down. It did not let me down at all. This book completely blew away all my expectations, which were already very high. Okay, so what is this book about? Why should you read this book? So this book is about a summer camp in 1975. And in the beginning of this book, a girl in the camp, a 13-year-old camper named Barbara, has gone missing. Now, her going missing is very important for a variety of factors. I mean, obviously, any kid that goes missing, that's very important, and I'm not downplaying that. But why Barbara in particular being missing plays a big role in this development of the story is for a couple reasons. The first being that Barbara's family is actually the family that owns the camp and runs the summer camp. Okay, so for as long as this area has been around, this family has developed this camp and run it for young people. So there's that. Her family is the most prominent family in the area. Okay. The second reason why it's important that it's Barbara that's gone missing is because her brother, 14 years ago, also went missing and was never found. So he was not at the camp. It wasn't that he was a camper and he also went missing at camp, but he was lost in the woods, never found again. So is this history repeating itself? What is going on in these woods? What is going on with this family? So this book has a pace that is not, I was talking a little bit ago about reading a lot of thrillers, right? And the storyline sounds like it could be a thriller, like what happened with this family and why is this kid missing? But it's not like that. This book is a beautiful masterpiece of literary fiction. Because as the book progresses, you get many different points of view. You get a point of view of the her bunkmate that she became really good friends with, Tracy. You get the point of view of the counselor who was in the who's taking care of the girls in the camp or in that particular tent or cabin. You get the point of view of the woman who runs the camp, who has been employed by the family. Since her dad ran the camp, she took over for him. You get the point of view of the mother of the girl. And you get all these points of view that are on all these different timelines. So you start the story in the very beginning when Barbara has gone missing, but then you're starting to get the history of the family and the history of the camp through these different people's eyes as you're progressing through the book. That sounds confusing, but it is not confusing at all, I promise. Because the author does this really wonderful thing where when she is talking about, particularly from the mother's point of view, and I don't know if you can see it, but at the very beginning of that chapter there is a thing that's highlighted that says what time we're talking about. So this chapter particularly takes place in the 1950s. So you will not get lost reading it. I know you won't, I promise. There's a lot going on in this book. It is very long, right? It's almost 500 pages. But you're not going to get lost. You're going to be completely captivated by this family and this camp. And not only desperate to find out what happened to Barbara, but you also want to find out what happened to her younger brother too that went missing and who was involved in that. And does it have anything to do with Barbara being missing now? There's a lot going on in this book as well as just this mystery of what happened to Barbara. So you also have this really huge, like, family dynamic story, okay? You have this really interesting dynamic between class, because you've got this really, really rich family that runs everything, and how that affects the rest of the town, because a lot of the people there are the ones that work for them. So you've got a really interesting class dynamic as well. This, like I said, this book takes place in 1975, so you have a really, really interesting dynamic about gender as well. You know, the women versus the men characters in the story, and a lot of the different dynamics that go on with that too. So there is so much going on with this story that is all absolutely fascinating. But that's not what's going to draw you in the story. The characters absolutely are going to draw you in, because they're so flawed and interesting and real. But you're going to be drawn in because of the story. Obviously, you're going to be very, very, you know, invested in what's going to happen to Barbara and what's going to happen to the rest of these characters, and you know, forming your own theories about what's going on. But most of all, what I think you're going to love most about this book is how beautifully it's written. Liz Moore is just, she's a phenomenal writer. Like, that's all I can say about it, is she is just absolutely can construct a sentence in this just the best way possible. She's a phenomenal, amazing writer. And this book was just a delight to read. I mean, as much of a book about a missing kid is going to be a delight, right? But I'm telling you right now, because of this complete, like, the characters, the story, the writing, everything about this book was just solid and amazing, and I think you should absolutely read it. If you have read her previous book, Long Bright River, you're going to love this one too. If you've never read anything by her, like I said, I know she's kind of an under-the-radar writer. I don't know that she's, like, one that a lot of people talk about all the time. Give her a shot. I guarantee you're going to love this book. I loved every single thing about it, and just found it to be absolutely phenomenal. The God of the Woods. Well, that's what we've got for you guys today. I hope that this book sounds really captivating and that you're super excited to give it a try. If so, please feel free to come and get it from Farmington Community Library. We do have it. And also, thank you very much for watching, friends, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.